Hare Krishna, Prabhus, Matajis, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'll do a sound check and a video check. Can everybody hear me and see my screen? Can someone confirm, please?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Dandavat Pranam, all goes to Shilpa.
Jai Prabhupada. So today we'll be reading from Canto 3, Chapter 13, Text 4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayatamudirate Nashtaprayasya Patreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtakim. We'll now go to the Veda-based screen. I hope it comes up properly and we all can see and read it. Shrutasya
Yes.
pumsa suchiro shramasya navanjasa surabhiridipto riddha tattat gunanushravarnan mukanda padaravindam hrideshu yesham. Shrutasya pumsan suchira shramasya nanamanyajasa surabhiridito rittaha tattat gunanushravanam mukunda padaravindam hrideshu yesham. Synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Synonyms: Shrutasya, of persons who are in process of hearing; Pumsam, of such persons; Suchira, for a long time; Shramasya, laboring very hard; Nanu, certainly; Anjasa, elaborately; Surabhiha, by pure devotees; Iditaha, explained by; Arthaha, statements; Tat, that; Tat, that; Guna, transcendental qualities; Anushravanam, thinking; Mukunda, the personality of Godhead who awards liberation; Pada Arvindam, the lotus feet; Hridayeshu, within the heart; Yesham, of them. Translation: persons who hear from a spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouths of pure devotees about the characters and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their hearts of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards his devotees liberation. Purport: transcendental students are those who undergo great penance in being trained by hearing the Vedas from a bona fide spiritual master. Not only must they hear about the activities of the Lord, but they must also hear about the transcendental qualities of the devotees who are constantly thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord within their hearts. A pure devotee of the Lord cannot be separated from the lotus feet of the Lord even for a moment. Undoubtedly, the Lord is always within the hearts of all living creatures, but they hardly know it because they are deluded by the illusory material energy. The devotees, however, realize the presence of the Lord, and therefore they can always see the lotus feet of the Lord within their hearts. Such pure devotees of the Lord are glorious as the Lord. They are, in fact, recommended by the Lord as more worshipable than He Himself. Worship of the devotee is more potent than the worship of the Lord. It is therefore the duty of the transcendental students to hear of pure devotees as explained by similar devotees of the Lord. Because one cannot explain about the Lord or his devotee unless one happens to be a pure devotee of the Lord. I'll read this again. because one cannot explain about the Lord or his devotee unless one happens to be a pure devotee himself. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे राम राम हरे। Thank you everyone for joining this morning's Bhagavad Katha. The picture that we see on the left is even Shri Krishna is himself listens to Bhagavad Katha. So it's setting an example. So today's what the topic is going to be is the importance and glories of this transcendental sound. So the power of transcendental sound. It's not an ordinary material sound. It's transcendental. And why it is transcendental, that also we'll cover. Then the power of transcendental sound, why we should hear it, and more importantly, how we should hear it. These two factors, why and how to hear it. And then the characteristics of the pure devotee. So, in the purport, as we just read, Prabhupada has explained the significance of a pure devotee. Look over here, Bilva Mangal Thakur. Bilva Mangal Thakur is singing the glories of Krishna, and Krishna himself has come to listen to him. And they say that wherever Bhagavad Katha is being discussed, Krishna and all his associates are present over there. So currently here now on the Zoom call, we have 10, 15 devotees, but it's not just limited to the 10, 15 devotees. Alongside with you, there's also Krishna and all his associates. So what is the character of that pure devotee and what is that significance of that pure devotee? And then why uh, Krishna himself says it's more potent worshipping a devotee than Shri Krishna himself. And then we'll bring this all together in a summary and a conclusion. Okay, so the first one is the power of transcendental sound. Why we should hear it and how we should hear it. So let us understand what is sound. Everyone knows what is sound. And if you go back to your middle school physics, it says sound is a form of energy. And I remember they used to say, we were taught an example how it is an energy, that when soldiers are marching, they march in step, left, right, when they're marching, and it makes a sound, their boots hitting the pavement. And when there's a big contingent of soldiers, when they cross a bridge, at that time they break the step. That's because that sound vibration, that frequency, it can increase so much in its amplitude that it could actually rattle the bridge and the bridge could fall down. So, sound is a form of energy. And we know that this energy, what is energy? Energy is something which lets you do some work. It's a power, it's a force. It lets you do some work. So sound is an energy. And this energy, whenever it is applied, it brings about some kind of a transformation. That's always the case. Energy, we have two types. There is what we call the potential energy, and there is kinetic energy. Potential energy is that ability to do work, and kinetic energy is energy in motion when it is applied to do work. So these three principles keep in mind. There is sound. Sound is a form of energy, and energy brings about transformation. Correct? You do work and it brings about some change. Now, if we understand the power of transcendental sound, what is sound? Sound and absence of sound is called silence. But then Prabhupada explained a very nice point of view on what actually is silence. Any sound which quietens down all the noise. So everything else which is not transcendental is considered noise. And noise, as you know, is distracting, it is irritating, whatever it may be. Now, we may say that there is also such a nice music, makes me feel nice, and all that. Yes, but it's still on a material platform. And when we look at it from a spiritual, from the spirit soul's aspect, it is still considered noise. So any sound, which means the transcendental sound, which quietens down the material noise, that is silence. So, how do you listen to this spiritual sound, or what we call the transcendental sound? The first requirement is a bona fide speaker. Who is a bona fide speaker? A bona fide speaker is someone who presents that sound as it is, there's no filtering process. He or she must be necessarily in the disciplic process. To present it as it is, you have to have heard it as it is, correct? And very importantly also, his achar will be equal to the prachar. Achar is his activities, prachar is what he's speaking. So his entire activities, his thoughts, his words, his deeds will be exactly in line with what he is speaking. So a bona fide speaker is someone who presents it as it is. To present it as it is, he has to be in a disciplic succession. It's not that you just go somewhere in the jungle, you're meditating, and then you get, oh, now I got all enlightenment. Disciplic succession, and then that disciplic succession to listen as it is, you will be able to then your activities, his activity should be. So this is a benchmark for a bona fide speaker. Who is a bona fide speaker? Then what is required from the audience, the listener? He needs to be very humble. Humility. Why? Because humility opens the mind. All of us have closed minds, and knowledge, whatever we know, closes our mind. It brings about a bias. Oh, how can it be like this? How can Brahma have four heads? How can it be Sadbhuj? All these things we've never seen in our mind because we have this knowledge. Our knowledge is limited, and this knowledge of ours acts as a barrier. But humility is something that in knowing much, there's still not a lot I know. That is humility. So humility opens our minds up, and when our mind is open, it can come in. In my daughter, when she was in second or third grade, in that parent teacher meeting, I saw a nice poster in her class. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when it is open. What a nice saying it is. It works best when it is open. So we have to be very careful that not to come to these topics and approach these topics or approach a bona fide speaker with a closed mind. Then it will have no effect. It will just fall there and bounce off like a trampoline. Years together we are hearing, but it is just bouncing off. And then when the mind is open, it can come straight into the heart. Heart is nothing but the residing place of where the soul is. It will touch the soul. So humility is a very important aspect. Then once somebody has this uh, quality of humility, automatically we become attentive. And we know what happens when you're attentive. That clarity and the understanding seeps through. Otherwise, it is, yeah, something little bit going on here and there, bits and pieces we'll pick up. So, bona fide speaker, humility, attentiveness, and then finally, and very importantly, service. So, when we have a bona fide speaker, we listen to him or her in a humble attitude, our attention gets focused over there. It will automatically propel us to do service. And this service brings about that realization, and that realization then assimilates. It goes deep within and it becomes our nature. So that becomes service. So we need bona fide speaker, humility, attentive service, and what are the other criterias associated with this. So this is transcendental sound, and this is how the transcendental sound should be approached, and how we can hear it. Why we need to hear it, we'll come to the next one. What it does. As we understood, energy is a transformation. Now, this particular slide, I have to thank Kalandi Gopikant Priya Mataji yesterday for a class, and then she posted it on Bhagavad Sevai also. I had been thinking for a long time, how do I know where I'm progressing, how I'm progressing, what is happening in my life? All these years getting up in the morning, chanting, doing this, doing that, reading Bhagavatam, what we call devotional service, acts of devotional service. How do I know what's the difference? Of course, little difference that we can understand. Savita and I were talking about it also. What difference is Hare Krishna making to us? What difference do these Zoom calls have made to our lives and things like that? What difference does it make? So she nicely encapsulated everything from the Bhagavad Gita, which is the word of Krishna himself. And if you see this transformative effect, now this is something which we can understand and all the time refer to it, come back to it, and it will tell us how it changes. Sometimes the transformation is very visible and we can actually feel it, and sometimes it is very subtle. But as long as we are aware of this, at that point in time, we at least know that fine, there is progress is happening. You know, even little bit you do, that progress is happening. That is given, that is guaranteed. But then how much, that yardstick to measure how much, where, what, all that will come through this. So this is again, thank you to Mataji. What it does is it makes you fearless and free from lamentation. Fearless. All of us have some kind of fear, this, that, whatever it may be. It makes you fearless and free from lamentation. A person who's fearless, and what I was noticing when I was reflecting on this and studying it a little more, uh, what Mataji had posted, actually it's all interconnected, and it flows in the Bhagavad Gita from verse number 1 all the way to, I forget what that verse number is. These boxes are a little small, I couldn't put the uh, text numbers over here. But if you're fearless, what are you going to lament for? Oh, I fear I'm going to lose my job. And then when you lose your job, you say, oh, now how will I get my Lakshmi to earn? Where will I feed my family, take care of this, that? Oh, I lost my job. But if you're fearless, there's nothing, you don't worry about it, because you're depending on somebody else where there's no shortage with him. So it makes you fear of lamentation, tolerant and undisturbed. So no matter what is coming stimuli, we remain equipoised. When you're equipoised, you can be focused in whatever is your purpose. It makes you resolute in your purpose. We transcend the modes of material nature: goodness, sorrow, ignorance, passion. Transcending that makes you peaceful and happy. So you see all these, how it uh, connects to each other. You attain love for Krishna, and love for Krishna is what you can cross the ocean of miseries. Who is Krishna? As Vaman Dev, with 2 steps, he covered the entire universe. What is this ocean of misery? They say it's just like the water in a small hoof print of a calf. It's that. For us, it is a huge ocean. But once you get on to Krishna, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. We see all beings equally. When we see all beings equally, where is the question of anger? We know who people are. We just don't look external. We know who they really are. So what they say and do doesn't really um, irritate us. This irritation, anger, hatred, and all comes all on the bodily level, the external. So from this, then if you renounce the sense enjoyment. All of us have this sense gratification. Whatever, we have these senses, and to please them all the time. When that is pleased, the mind automatically becomes calm, because the mind is all the time looking for desires and gratification, how to do this, how to do that. Whether it is watching Netflix, or whether it is overeating, whatever it be. the mind becomes steady. It curbs the restless mind. We unite. When our mind is steady, we can unite with Krishna in one of those five moods, rasas that we have. You unite with Krishna, you become free of doubt. Why? Because Krishna is omniscient, full of knowledge. So if you're connected with Krishna, where is the question of doubt? There's no doubt. Then we remember Krishna. You're connected with Krishna all the time, you're remembering him. What is Krishna? Satchit Ananda. Full, he's the storehouse of Ananda and ever increasing Ananda. So naturally, a person will be joyful, someone who's connected with Krishna. So what I was seeing is, and I was really appreciating how each of this verse is connected with each other, right? It destroys ignorance. Again, his knowledge. All our ignorance we can actually appreciate. Today we don't really put much, at least me, value on these stories and pastimes and Krishna's words and all that, because it is my ignorance. It's acting as a filter barrier. Huge cement wall is there. It just can't penetrate. So when all these things are happening, it is destroying that ignorance. And that's when I can actually understand the glories of Krishna. I become an instrument of Krishna. We see him face to face. Many people say, show me God, show me God, show me God. The way to see God is through your ears. Listen, that's the way we see Krishna. Faith, it becomes solid. When the faith is very, very firm, then bhakti's rules and regulations, these do's and don'ts. We say, Arey, why there are so many do's and don'ts? I had a very good friend of mine. He came and told me, Arey, your guru and this ISKCON and all night has too much of these do's and don'ts. Yeah. I have one guru, he says, do what you want. He comes with us also to the pub and, all these discotheques and all that. He drinks with us, smokes. He's saying, do what you want. What you want, no problem. Do what you want. No rules, regulations. And then we say, Arey, yeah, that is how it is. Why we have so much rules and regulation? Get up in the morning, chant 16 rounds, don't eat meat, don't do this, don't do that, do this. So many rules and regulations. Rules and regulations seem like a confinement. Confinement to what, we don't ask ourselves. Confinement to our misbehavior. Misbehavior in context to what our actual purpose is. But someone who has great faith, it becomes natural and spontaneous. It's literally no big deal. Getting up in the morning will be spontaneous. Chanting with attention will be spontaneous. Any activity that we do will be natural. We won't even think about it like how we are blinking our eyes or taking a breath. And naturally, we become dear to Krishna. Just by hearing and following it in this pattern, we become dear to Krishna. And someone who goes dear to Krishna is obviously beyond birth and death. He has solved the problem of life, birth and death, and then fully surrendered to Krishna. That's the whole purpose, right? Sarva dharman parityaja. So this is so special to me. I'm planning to take make it nice into a frame with the Sanskrit sloka and this thing, and a constant reminder. This is the power of hearing. This is what hearing is doing to us. And it will, the more we engage in it, more and more this flowchart will happen. Now, what is the characteristics of a pure devotee? Okay, you understand a pure devotee, his thoughts, his words, his deeds will be, you can benchmark it, it'll always be in line with Guru Sadhu Shastra. We spoke about this a little while in a couple of slides before. Disciplic succession. There'll be absolutely no deviation. Absolutely no deviation. Why is there no deviation? Because his mind, body, and soul is completely aligned with Krishna. This is a pure devotee. There's no there's no blip, there's no anomaly. Completely, his body completely aligned with Krishna. And we decorate the body with tilak is because the devotee considers his body to be a temple where the Paramatma resides. And just as a temple has that shikhar on top and the flag, what does that flag indicate? So people from all over, from far away, can see, this is the house of God. That's the purpose which we come here. Similarly, this tilak announces to everybody, this is, we've decorated our body for the Paramatma within. And it's also to announce. So anyone can come and approach and ask us, and we are duty bound to answer their questions related to topics of spirituality. His mind is totally absorbed in Krishna, for Krishna, of Krishna, by Krishna. He's just totally absorbed. There's nothing about him in the middle. Him is the only way where I'm in service of Krishna. So it's fully aligned, his body, mind, and then such a person, this devotee, what he has is it brings about purity. Purity means all the material aspect is taken out, and there is only a spirit. Not only his soul spirit, but his entire existence is spiritual. Now, such a person or devotee, correct, has that authenticity. So when we are hearing about the transcendental sound, that authenticity as it is, three little words, but tremendous implications. Extremely important. As it is, that authenticity. He has the purity, she also, he or she has the purity, the authenticity to deliver it as it is, that sound, without any interpretations and concoction. And that is our surety. It gives you that guarantee. So that guarantee is the earlier slide. When we listen from a pure devotee, this is what happens. And that devotee is the only medium through which that transcendental sound can have a transformative effect. And that is why it is more important worshipping a devotee than God himself. That's why Krishna himself says, worship my devotee. So this is the signal. Of course, a question may come, then we come in the temple and we do arti, we do bhoga, we sing kirtan, and we sing for. That is because a devotee has told us to do it. We are obeying the instructions of a devotee. We see Prabhupada sitting right in front of the deities. So this is the significance of the sound, and this is what it is. So in conclusion, I read this very nice when I was preparing for the class yesterday. Prayer is when you talk to God. Meditation is when you listen to God. Prayer is when we talk. This Mataji, I don't know who she is, Diana Robinson, but thank you for putting this. Meditation is when you listen to God. So when we are listening to Katha, we are actually meditating. Meditating, we think, is eyes closed. When I first came, my first visit to ISKCON was people jumping up and down, Nithai Gaur Hari Bol, and I said, oh, these are a bunch of fanatics. Because in my mind, I thought that Bhagwan means it will be quiet, little ghanti is playing, agarbatti, nice mood, everything is shant over here. Of course, later on, I would become one of the persons who jumps up and down. But meditation is when you listen to God. That listening to God aspect is meditation. We have something which is called the mantra meditation, Mahamantra meditation. So actually, if we can just focus on this Mahamantra, the entire Bhagavad Katha, the entire scriptures, the entire knowledge, anything that is to be known will be known just by this Mahamantra, these Hare Krishna Rama. 16 words, how it is arranged. But focus, because we don't have focus, all these other things. Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj had said, because we don't have this, that's why we need a guru, a pure devotee. So, Prabhus, Matajis, thank you very much for your attention. This is how you listen. Look at this picture. Prabhupada is making a point. He used to go on these morning walks, you know. See how everyone in this picture, everybody, just look at their attention, whether the person is right next to Prabhupada or he's somewhere right behind. Attention. Listen to what is being said. This is what Prabhupada says. With our lips, we should be chanting, our ears, we should be hearing, and our hearts should be crying out for the Lord. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It's already 7 o'clock. If you have any questions, comments, realizations, you could please post it at Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Group. Hare Krishna. Over to you, Madhupati Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Amrita Prabhu. Nice presentation as always. I'd like to wish you all a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead. And we'd like to pray to the Supreme Lord. This nice hearing on the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama,
Hare Ram,
Rama
Ram,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Ram,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Rama,
Ram, Ram,
Rama
Hare
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare.
Jai Nrsimha, Jai
Jai
Nrsimha,
Narsingha,
Jai
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 Nrsimha.
Narsingha,
Praladesha
Praladesha
Jaya
Jaya
Padma
Padma Bhanga.
Ugraviram
Ugraviram
Vishnu
Vishnu
Sarvatomukam
Sarvatomukam
Bhadram
Bhishanam Bhadram Mrityam Namamyaham.
Singh Bhagwan ki Jai
Jai
Jai.
Hanuman Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances and lotus feet of all the assembled Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpataru bhaishya kripa sindhu bhayeva cha patitanam
Nitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
namo
Namaha.
namaha Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्रीला
Jai.
प्रभुपाद की
Jai.
गौर प्रेमानंदे
Hari Hari.
गौरी
Thank you so much,
Jai
Amritananda.
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Amritananda
Thank you.
Prabhu. Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to
Presentation
Prabhupada.
as always.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Hari
Hare
Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.